in a minute, but I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I've been reading a lot about prosopagnosia recently, and it's so interesting, and I am just beside myself to get a firsthand experience and hear about it. So,
I think the more people talk about it, the more maybe people who don't understand or think that they have it. I think that it's just really good to, talk about it to people.
I agree. And since you are already here and I'm here, if you're good with it, I'm going to go ahead and get us started so we can get us finished so that you can get to your bonfire.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, hi there, my Wonderlings, and welcome back to another episode of Welcome to Wonderland. Today I am here with Mela Borawski, who is a certified hypnotherapist and founder of Three Rays of Light. I'm sorry. Her platform for all things spiritual alchemy. I met Mela when I co-hosted an episode of All About Nothing podcast with Barrett, since Zach is out on paternity leave with the twins.
Hold on. Sorry, we have a fire truck in the background, and I'm hearing it. So
That's because this conversation is on fire, right? So,
It will be.
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
So start again from wherever you want.
Well, thank you. So I co-hosted this episode of the All About Nothing podcast where Barrett was interviewing Mela. I think in part or mostly because she's a certified hypnotherapist, and that's where that conversation started. And despite a wonderful conversation, right now, she does not recognize me due to the fact that she has prosopagnosia. And we'll get into that since it's the topic of today's episode. But first, will you tell us a little bit about yourself, Mela?
Sure. I live on a homestead with a bunch of my family, pretty much like a family commune out in the country with goats and chickens, and my sister has a pig next door. I do hypnosis for all sorts of things, other healing modalities like auricular therapy, energy healing, just different things that I've picked up from various courses and classes in school that I've gone to help people, holistic, mind, body, and spirit. And I also have a pagan church that I lead, a religious nonprofit that we have out here in the country as well.
Well, that is exciting. And we actually talk a fair amount about all of that on the episode of All About Nothing. So welcome to Wonderland, listeners. If you did not listen to that episode, go back and listen to it. I'll be sure to link it when we share this. But the reason why I have Mela on the show today is to talk about the prosopagnosia. So that was actually the second time it had come up in about a month's period for me. And I was like, oh no, this is something that's so unique. And now to hear it twice, I've really got to learn more about this. So the way Welcome to Wonderland works, Mela, is basically I find a topic that I or other people are interested in, and I do some research on it, put together some information. I go down rabbit holes as it is when you're on the internet and you start just going down and seeing things. And then in the last year or so, I've started having additional guests on to honestly take some of the burden off of me from doing all the research, but also to bring some more light to whatever the topic is. So today let's shut my thing. Today we're talking about, it's a really big word, prosopagnosia, but it's face blindness.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, I don't even really know where to start here. Ideally, we're gonna keep this kind of short. Mela's got some plans today, and obviously we'll have some of the research, sciencey part that I'm doing to tie in with this. But I really wanted to hear kind of some of the personal stuff. It sounds like more often than not, face blindness is the result of an injury or a brain event like a stroke or Alzheimer's. But in some cases, they're finding it's congenital. Do you mind sharing what your circumstances are or were?
Because I didn't know what I had, I am not exactly sure. I don't know if I've had it since I was a child, because I don't remember a lot of my childhood just because of trauma and things like that. But I did fall down. I hit my head. I had I had concussions through my life, and I just know that since my 20s, that's when I remember having trouble and not knowing what the trouble was, just thinking that I was very forgetful, just thinking that something was wrong with me, that I was broken in some way. And it wasn't until later on that I found out that there was a name for this. So I may have had it when I was younger and I just didn't know it.
Right. Okay. So, what is it, if you can? I know how hard it is to describe something when it's normal for you, but what is it that you see? Like, do you see facial expressions and can you make out whether someone's happy or sad and you just can't put it back to the right person later? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I see people when I'm with them. So it isn't the kind of thing where when I'm looking at you right now I see a blank space. It's just that when I look away, I'm not going to be able to describe what you look like. If tomorrow I'm not going to be able to tell somebody what color your hair is, what color your eyes are. I couldn't tell the police to do a sketch. Nothing like that. I'm not going to be able to remember you. If I passed you tomorrow in Walmart, I would not recognize you.
So, but you have good vision, right? So right now you can see me for what I am. You can see that I've
Right.
got blonde hair and or brown hair and wearing a green shirt.
Right.
Okay. So, and this isn't something where, so I tell people all the time that I'm bad with faces, but it's more like when I don't know somebody well, I won't recognize them out of the right setting. So if it's somebody I work with that I'm not especially close with, if I see them out, then I don't know. Like I'll go, they seem familiar, but I don't know why I know them. So it's not nearly that same kind of thing. Are you able to recognize like your family members on the regular, or just because of their gait or smell or?
There's a lot of things that, because I've had this for so long, you kind of train yourself. So what you mentioned about having maybe a coworker, but then if you see them out, you wouldn't recognize them. That's definitely something where if somebody is in the same place, I could recognize them just because I'm putting the context around them. So I think with my family, my kids are here, they're going into the same rooms that they're going into, but there is a possibility that if I hadn't seen them in a week or two and they passed by me out on the street, I would not recognize them. I've actually driven, when they were little, I drove right past them many times, and they ran after my car when I was going to pick them up from school because they weren't standing at the same place where they always stood.
Wow. Is it the same way with pictures? Can you look at a picture and say, oh, yes, this is my daughter, or this is my husband, or only because you know that's who's in that particular picture?
Sometimes, if I've kind of memorized it, it takes a lot of kind of brain power. That's how I try to explain it to people, is the amount of brain power. Let's say for you, if I wanted to remember what color your hair was and what you look like, the amount of brain power that I would have to start expending now to kind of dig that into my brain is so much that I just don't have the power to do that. So with my family and things like that, it's a little easier because I have constant contact with them. My kids live with me still, my husband. But if he came home today and his beard was shaved, I would be extremely shaken up, and I have before, and I would know that it's my husband, but he would look so different to me that I feel kind of scared inside.
Oh, that's wild. That actually came up when I was talking to some coworkers about the fact that I was doing this episode, and asking had they ever heard of it or anything like that. And one of the women that I work with named Cheyenne, she said, I can't even imagine the emotional impact of having to deal with not recognizing people. And then other people not understanding that it's not that you have anything against them or that there's something wrong with, but that you just physically your brain won't do it. So how do you kind of manage that, emotionally for yourself, but also when you're interacting with people who just have no idea?
How I am now is a lot better with that because I'm very open about it. And when I teach, when I talk to people, I'm very open and tell them that this is what I have, this is how you could help me. Please introduce yourself if you see me, that sort of thing. But most of my life, at first I didn't know what was wrong with me. But even when I figured out what was going on, I was very ashamed. And I tried to hide it. And so I had things that I did, like if my husband Randy was with me and somebody walked up, and I have met so many people through my life because I did so much community work and teaching and things like that. So it is very possible, since I've lived in the Columbia area, that I'm going to run into somebody that knows me. I'm not going to know any of them. So Randy was really good about coming up, and I was just the whole Southern thing. Hey, honey, yeah, it's good to see you. Oh, yeah. And they're telling me this, and I have absolutely no clue who they are. So Randy would kind of sidle up and say something to help trigger me as to where I knew them from. Oh, yeah, how's your kids from so-and-so school, or something like that. So he got really good at kind of secretly giving me information to help me figure out who I was talking to. But it's not as difficult anymore because I am totally upfront with people and tell them. I still kind of get in trouble with people. Just maybe a year and a half ago, one of my hypnosis clients saw me at another event, and I didn't recognize her, and she talked to me, and I just was super nice to her, but I didn't realize she was a client of mine. And later on, I was talking to someone about that I had face blindness, and she came up and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I heard you saying that, because I thought that you just either didn't like me, that I wasn't memorable or in any way." And I said, "No, oh my goodness, no, I'm not stuck up. People have thought I'm stuck up for my whole life."
Oh, and I could see where that would be the case, because I feel like you would probably, on account of other people, have to overcompensate for the fact that they feel like you should know who they are and what you have talked about. And the whole time you're sitting there scrambling to go, why do I know this person? We clearly know each other. This conversation is going in a way that we clearly know each other, but why?
Right. Yeah.
So I know you said early on you didn't know, or you started noticing it in your 20s. And in doing some of the preliminary research for this episode, it looks like there are tests that they can do, MRIs and various tests, to officially diagnose it, but that most people are self-diagnosed with the face blindness. What is the case for you?
I would consider myself self-diagnosed, but I have been in different university studies and gone through their testing. So it wasn't doctor diagnosed, but all the tests that I've ever done and all the studies I've ever done, I've been in the more severe testing. So Bournemouth University in UK, I studied with them, and I think 72 or something is the average, and I got a 29.
Oh no!
So,
so what are on those kinds of tests, if you don't mind me asking?
Most of it is just lots and lots of faces, and they just have the face part, no hair or anything. So you're just looking at just the face, and you have to look at all these faces, and then they go to another screen, and you have to pick out the face, which face is not in the ones that you saw, or which face is in the ones that you saw, that sort of thing. It's extremely difficult. They also do famous people. They do just general people. And that's another thing people don't think about, though, with the famous people. Keeping up with storylines in movies and in TV shows is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult.
Because you don't know who's who and what they're doing and why they're doing it.
People are, yeah.
So do you prefer books over movies then?
I love books. I do love movies. And again, Randy is extremely helpful to me, so I'm constantly asking him, who is this person and why are they doing that? And then he tells me, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. So he's very helpful with that. But I do love books because I can keep up a lot better.
See, I'm the opposite. I have aphantasia, so I don't see anything in my head. So when I'm reading, there's no picture. I love to read. I was an English major, but it's just, there's
Yeah.
nothing playing out up there. So, if your face were to be in those tests, like with your hair taken away and everything, would you know it was your face?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't think so.
That's so
They
crazy.
all look the same. They just, it's really weird. So it's the things that they're not showing that I recognize. I recognize somebody's hair, a hair color, a way that they walk, the way that they talk. I'm an energy reader as well, so sometimes I can recognize people's energy. But if I'm just looking at this face part of my face, I'm not going to probably recognize that.
Oh, man. I think that's got to be incredibly difficult to deal with and to navigate just daily life. What are some of the biggest obstacles that you have in not being able to remember faces?
I would say the biggest obstacle would be interpersonal, of just having people in my classes and having a church basically with people that see me almost every week, and yet I don't know who they are. And just having that, it's created kind of rifts with people because, like I said earlier, some people think I'm stuck up. They don't understand, especially before I was very open about it. So the biggest thing that I've had to deal with is interpersonal things of just people thinking I was just a horrible stuck up person who didn't even want to talk to them when I saw them.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't imagine that. And it's got to be, so what's something that you wish that people knew when they were interacting with someone with prosopagnosia? Like that they could understand.
I I think that if people could understand that we're not doing it on purpose, we're not choosing it, it's not something that that we can fix. We can't think it away. We can't take a medication to make it go away. And that little things that they do, how helpful they are. Like I had someone when I was in the museum, working in the museum, one of the volunteers, every time she would see me, and I knew her for years, but every time she'd see me, she would just say, "Hey, Fran here." And that's all I needed. That's absolutely all I needed. And so I have people in my life who are, I tell them that. And I just think if people wouldn't take it personally and would just say, "Hey, Mela here. I know you from so-and-so," it would just make life so much easier for somebody with the face blindness.
And while researching this, I found that it's one of those things that, because I guess there are a couple of celebrities now who have come out and said, hey, this is something that afflicts me. And, you know, I said you were the second person that I had heard about it from. The first person, Barrett was actually interviewing Margaret Kerry, who is the person after whom Tinkerbell is modeled and apparently has had face blindness her entire life. And she was telling a story about how she was, I guess she used to hang out with Walt Disney and all of that. But she was at some sort of party and she was just having a conversation with someone and they were having a nice old conversation, and her husband came to her after and was like, "Do you know who you were talking to?" And she was like, "No, I have no idea who I was talking to, but it was a perfectly pleasant conversation." And it was their neighbor who they'd lived next to for decades, but no idea, because it's not, she wasn't at home and they weren't over the fence. So they were in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And that's just, so apparently she's been talking about it for years, but then you've got people like, I don't know if Brad Pitt, I think, is one of the ones that has come up recently, who I am, if I'm remembering correctly, has said that he was self-diagnosed, but that he has the same thing where he can't recognize people outside of, you know, them saying, "Hey, this is who I am," or, you know, using all of these context clues to be able to figure it out. And I've got to imagine that's got to be incredibly difficult and taxing to keep all of that in your head. But it's also got to be liberating to know that there are other people out there who are experiencing this also, and that it's not something where you're all alone in it, or that you're not just a bad person who can't remember people, but that it's an actual affliction. And what advice would you give to someone who thinks they may have face blindness, that they realize now upon hearing it that they're maybe not seeing the world the same way that everybody else does?
Look up any of the prosopagnosia studies. There's online things you can do. You can contact several universities, take the tests, find out if that's what it is, and then there's no cure for it. So all you have to do is figure out ways to live your life better. And I thought I was broken because of it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know why I couldn't do this. People, just like with depression, people would say things like, well, just try better. If you honestly cared about me, you would try more. And so you have to have a lot of compassion for yourself, because you're not doing it on purpose. And I think that anybody who has this, especially if they're undiagnosed, there's probably some kind of shame that they've got. Because I know I didn't want to go around people because I would be afraid that I would run into somebody that I didn't know and I'd have to pretend. I felt very inauthentic because I was pretending that I knew people all the time and had no clue who I was talking to. Couldn't even describe them to people later to figure out who it was in the end. And so the shame really brought me down. I felt very isolated. So if you think you have this and you've been isolating yourself, you've been feeling that shame, one of the best things that I did for myself that changed so many things in my life was learning to love myself. Like that, people might say that as kind of a trite little thing. It absolutely changed my life. It changed all my relationships and allowed me to just realize that this is how I am. And there are things that I can do. Because my face blindness, and I don't know if in your research it said anything about this, but it can also extend to recognizing cars, recognizing animals, and things like that. So I can't find my car because of this. I can't tell somebody what color my car is or what color of car anybody in my family drives because of this. It just doesn't shelf in my memory banks. It just not not there. So it brings a lot of shame because you do feel like you are a lesser individual. So please realize that you are not alone. There's nothing to be ashamed about, and there's lots of things that you can do to help yourself. Recognizing who people are, and one of the best things is just telling the people you know to say, hey, remind me I have this thing. It's not a terrible thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just who I am, it's just how I am. Would you please remind me who you are?
Yeah. And it seems like that'd be so easy, but I guess maybe if you're shy or anything like that, that might be a bigger pill to swallow than it seems like it would be.
And people get upset too. When I've asked that to people, and they get offended. So
like they don't believe you? They don't understand?
Yeah. What about me is not memorable? Or they'll make remarks like, I've been in your classes for 2 years now, and you don't remember me? I guess I'm just not memorable. And you have to really love yourself to let that not get under your skin.
Oh, I bet. I was getting ready to go somewhere with that, and I don't recall where it was. Oh, come on to me. It's gone. Sorry. To go back to the cars and the animals, I know you actually mentioned the animals to me last time that we were talking about it, because you mentioned the chickens, and then I asked if they all had names, and you were like, right. Not really a good reason to name them. And I was like, oh, hadn't occurred to me that a chicken is just a chicken is just a chicken to you. Mm-hmm. But the car thing, so do you not drive anywhere, or do you just have to hit the beep, beep, beep on your car keys, or...
I do drive places, and I usually have some type of sticker on the back of my car so that it will help me. But it's sometimes the car looks, and sometimes this is the same thing with people. Sometimes the car or the person looks so unfamiliar. There is no anything that is memorable about it. that even with the sticker on the back, and I'm peering into the windows of my car, and I see my things inside of the car, but the car looks so strange that I'm second guessing myself and looking around. So I do go places. It's not, I think the more tired I get, the more stressed I get, the worse it is, because it is a neurological type thing. But usually I am very good about parking in the same place. If there's somewhere that I go, I park in the exact same place every single time. So I may not recognize the car, but once I get there, I can look at it and see my things inside of it or see my sticker.
Oh, so does it extend too to like when you're driving around, do you recognize where you're at, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about recognizing where I'm at. So yeah, I'm
So
pretty
not
good
to
with
buildings and
directions.
things like that necessarily.
Not buildings or anything. Yeah, I do use GPS a lot just because I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I don't remember everything, but that's not from the face blindness.
No, no, that I totally understand. I record over here at Barrett's home office semi-regularly, and we have been friends for years, and I still use GPS to get here and still miss the turn like 80% of the time. So that I totally understand. All right, and we are getting close to our time, and I don't want to hold you up. Is there anything else that you might like to just mention, or this is going to sound awful to say considering it, but like a fun story or
Well, the other week I had a story. So I've been doing pretty good with things, and Randy's been really good about helping me, and I've found different ways to recognize people from context. But we were at a social situation a couple weeks ago. We had someone that we didn't know sit down beside us, and he sat right beside me, and Randy was across from me. And we talked to this person for a while. We were having dinner, and I had no clue that the person got up and somebody else sat down in their seat. They went to mingle with somebody else. So I look back and continue the conversation. And the new guy who had a tattoo that I had no clue that that was even a different person was talking about the same thing. And so I could not recognize that this was a different person. So the whole time on the way home, I was talking to Randy about this guy and all the things that he had said. And Randy said, "Who are you talking about?" And he told me that we had been talking to two different guys. And he tried to explain to me what one guy looked like and what the second guy looked like. And I could not even pinpoint at what point the other guy must have gotten up and the new guy sat down. And I said, I should not be allowed to leave the house.
That is wild. Gosh, would you, this sounds super insane, but would you know if you had an intruder in your house or if it was somebody who was allowed to be there?
Oh my gosh. New fear triggered.
Oh no.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I have had family members come into my house, or my sister who lives next door, she doesn't believe in knocking. We've had to train her to knock on the door. But she has often just walked in, and I haven't recognized her, and scared me so bad that heart rate and panic sets in. So I don't know.
Oh gosh. Can you imagine that situation? Like you have an intruder in your house, and then later you can't even describe them to the police.
Yeah, and when Randy cut all his, when he had his beard off that one time, and he'd had a beard for a long time before that, when he first walked in, I did think that it was a stranger walking into the house.
Oh. He had to walk in and be like, it's me, I love you, it's me.
He did. He did, but it's still, like I said earlier about that, it's still, once I knew it was him, it's still, I didn't even want him to touch me, honestly, because he looked like a completely different person. There was nothing memorable about him at all, and I didn't even want him to touch me. I had to get used to it. I had to really come to terms with it.
Because he felt like a stranger.
Yeah, absolute stranger.
I can't imagine that. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be able to give some personal stories to this very scientific-y type topic for today.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to let you get to that. But again, thank you. It's such a pleasure speaking with you again. I know, like I said, we got to talk before on the All About Nothing episode, and I thought that was a really great episode. I listened to
I
it
enjoyed
twice.
it.
So, so I will let you go, but thank you again so much for joining me today.
Thank you.